So how did your gaming journey start?
Super Mario Brothers 1. I feel it's a pretty boring answer. Like it's so cliched, but legit that was my first one. So yeah, I just the second I picked up the controller, it's all I wanted to do, and I haven't looked back. I would skip homework. I would want to skip school. All I wanted to do was play games, and it was treated as a kind of like a vice, right? The thing like you should unplug and go outside, and it's all I ever wanted to do. And I did all the tricks of like I will put the Super Nintendo through the window so like we're outside and we still play and it's okay if we get caught because we're playing outside, and did all of that. And yeah, so at some point I was early 20s and I thought, it's the only thing I care to do no matter what I'm trying to study or whenever I'm at work. All I want to do is go back home and play games. And so I thought maybe if I can make games for a living, then when I have free time, I'll be doing something else. It didn't really work. I still play games all the time when I'm not working. It's just that I make games while I'm working now as well. And so I studied for 1 year in the gameplay programming. And with the paper, I then got a job in a servicing studio, making games for, movies and just for clients in general. But I always had this vision, these games that I wanted to make. And so throughout those 8 years, you meet the right people, and eventually I got to like start talking to them about this dream. And then in 2016, Sabotage was founded. After about a year of prototyping Messenger, just with a buddy of mine who's our level designer. And it's a universe so all our games are in the same universe. And it's a world I've been dreaming up since elementary school, actually.
When did you start writing down your world?
I thought I hated writing,
Yeah.
It's like super complex and like long form and how to manage that and make it good and how to not get bored after a little while and things like that. And so one thing that helped that I got insight from another writer is essentially there's a difference between writing and typing. Okay, typing sucks. And even anyone who's been a writer all their life and has 40 novels out, very likely they hate typing as well. It's not supposed to be the fun part, or maybe you're a writer even if you hate typing. The writing part is gathering anecdotes, sharing ideas, discussing high concepts with people. That's writing. And then you take high level notes of what is cool, right? Rough ideas. And then it's still kind of writing when you do sort of the long form where you're just extracting all the juice from the good ideas, you're fleshing them out. But at some point it will become typing, right? And my big takeaway there was, even if you hate the typing part, you can still be a writer. It's not necessarily supposed to be fun, this typing part. So the writing part, you can do, you can start yesterday. You just grab. So I have this notebook with me, right? The pen is already in it, the pencil is already in it, and I try to just always have it. So that's all part of writing,
And how do you decide a game is done, like it's complete?
If you try to do like a very good first version, you'll have a blank page. You'll have I don't know how you call this in I only know the expression in French, but when you're just stuck and the first word won't come out. It's a syndrome de la page blanche. We say white page syndrome in French. White page means blank page in French. So what I do with that is like, you just assume it will be terrible. Like write something and it will be bad and you won't keep it. But so you allow that, and so then at least you have something. Because it's like changing 99% of something is way easier than even coming up with anything in the first place, right? You just assume it'll get redone anyway. And so you always have something. And then the process of game dev is not so much for us coming up with the content in the first place, is that we first lay a foundation for everything, and we know it's not what it will be. And then it's a constant process of like the weakest point of the whole thing is always something new, right? You're like, oh, this one is really sticking out. Okay, let's take it up to here. Oh, now I see that this one is really obvious. Now let's take it up to here. And then all of a sudden you've lifted everything up enough that something that was the best is now the worst. And then you do that. And then at some point, an element in your game that feels like you would rate it, a 3 out of 10 in terms of quality, you can bring that to 9, right? Or 8. But bringing 9 to 10 is like, that's when you spend hundreds of hours and the return isn't so good. But if you find the thing that's like 1 out of 10 and you make it 7, it's like, wow, you just won 6 points. And so you constantly do that. And then the definition of 10 keeps going up as your average goes up. And then at some point you're like, I don't see where I can make a significant effort. And that's when, for us, that's when we have to learn to like, not let go, but at some point, because nothing will ever be perfect, and Messenger isn't, it certainly isn't, but getting to work on Sea of Stars at some point was more exciting than overkilling Messenger, even more.
Which element from the Messenger are you most proud with?
Pretty happy with how the Shopkeeper was received. That one was I felt was a bit of a risk, but I think just the controls. It's like, playing a ninja that looks the part was the idea there, and with the cloud step mechanic and all that. When you see someone playing, it's like, hey, that's a ninja. It's the fantasy, It was like just beat a ninja, and instead of feeling a friction, and being really happy when you pulled something off, then it becomes more like a toy. So it was really more about the flow, that as you're playing, you can sort of like take a step back and like, wow, I'm defying gravity. It's so hard, but it plays into how you should feel about the character, and how about you yourself should feel. For me, I always liked the feeling of being of having the tools to overcome things that shouldn't be possible to overcome. Like, I can appreciate a Sekiro, for example, where difficulty is really an ingredient. But no, in case of Messenger, it was more about, hey, just beat a ninja,
You are now making another game that is a Japanese style RPG, totally different from the Messenger. What are the other genres that you want to make games in?
There's a lot of people have been asking, like, you did a platformer, why do an RPG now? And so, well, that's because we're not a studio that makes platformers. We're a studio that makes our own definitive editions of the genres that stuck with us. And where the exercise is interesting to us is this pruning thing of like, okay, we grab this, we try to distill, keep what still holds up, and then rethink what hasn't really aged well, And so now that's done for the platformer. Now we care to do that for the RPG, and maybe we care to do that for other genres. I don't know if we will, but certainly like so the point and click adventure is one that I feel is a bit of a shame that it's kind of, those days are gone, it seems. But I mean, there's so many. Just the Tycoon, like a game like Roller Coaster Tycoon, or not like a fully fledged city builder like Simulation where you run out of money all the time, but just something about gathering resources and seeing people like feeding themselves and all that, and then just watching little characters and taking care of them. To beat them up, for sure. I would say, like, for me, it's what are the key pain points, right? Earlier when we said like something is 2 out of 10 in your game, how do you make it like a 9 or whatever? Well, so for me, that's what happens. I look at the turn-based RPG, and for me the random encounters are that, and so it's like, oh, let's make it. Remember playing Chrono Trigger and there's no combat on the world map? You're like, wow, I'm discovering this freedom of just roaming the world, instead of like having the irritant of I'm being disturbed again and I lost my bearings after the combat and all of that. And so it's this ideas, and I think once you have 5 or 6 key things that anyone who has played them extensively will relate to the pain, and that you're presenting, an improvement that's very clear that you can pitch really easily, then you've probably got something.
What is the most exciting part in success?
The most exciting part for me is because Sea of Stars is the dream we all gathered around, and then Messenger was the game we could afford to make. And so it was the one that we could do with a smaller team as we were scaling, and it was also the one that we could present to an audience that didn't know us, right? Because proposing an RPG is probably a tough sell if you don't have any, like, I don't want to say necessarily renown, but like if it's like, can you really trust us with all these complex systems? And so Messenger was meant as not as a stepping stone, but certainly a logical first step. And so for me, the best part of Messenger is that I get to make an RPG with my friends.
When would you be done with gaming? When would you say, that's enough, I'm done, I completed what I need?
I can't really picture that. I'm too much in the zone. But if we ever made a game where, the main character that you play was like one that overarcs everything, then that would probably mean that we're closing the whole thing. But I don't. Yeah, no, I can't really see it. There's 5 games that I feel needs to come out, and we have the one out already, but we can do others in between these 5, and I don't even know that we'll even do the 5 ever. No, I mean, no. It's my vocation is to entertain, and I really I feel like I'm living a meaningful life, just too meaningful to give up.
So it's safe to say that you are a journeyman, not a destination man.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
When you eventually end with gaming, um, one way or another,
Yeah.
what would your biography be named?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't I don't know that the biography will happen, but
It will.
what it should be named? Should it be like me who writes it, or I'd probably just call it the times when something happened, you know, and it will just be a random collection of like everything that led to whatever happened. But I sure hope it ends with me finding some inner peace at some point.
And let's say the roles were reversed, and you had to ask yourself one question: what would it be, and how would you answer it?
I mean, I don't really know what I would want to ask myself. Well, maybe when will you go to sleep? That's probably the one question. I've been stuck in a loop of like just staying up always too late, and I know there's no free lunch when it comes to that, you know.
The bill always comes in the end. Like I can
Oh
attest to
yeah.
that. Any final words for the viewers?
I mean, the number one advice I always give is never, and it sounds out of context to everything we were talking, but never let anyone tell you who you are. I put off my dream for too long because I was a programmer and I was trying to become, you know, designer and writer, and I was letting, you know, higher ups tell me like, "Ah, you're perfectly valuable there, so go back to writing code," you know, and so no one but you knows what you're meant to do or what you genuinely want to do, and if you genuinely feel something and it has to do with creating or sharing, just go for it, you know. And then people will tell you that you can't make it until
Until
they
you
see
make it.
what
Yeah.
you had, you know. Yeah, you can't have regrets on that one.